I'm going to bring on a guest who he thought we were going to talk about puzzles here. But first thing, Michael, the first time you sat next to a 22, 23-year-old kid, at the time you didn't know he was from a cult in Arizona and had seen all of his childhood chess prodigy dreams fail, and you're sitting there working in this office that we eventually dissolved. What were your thoughts about chess.com and how crazy it was to join the team as one of the most OG of our?
In Mountain View, California. Very well, Danny. It was like I met you, David Pruce. I think that was the first time I met Eric in the flesh. Jay. It was amazing. We could fit everybody in a boardroom, and we did, and had a lot of fun. You were a huge part of that.
Michael Green, for those who know, I'm going to tell a funny story. Michael Green is partly here because he was one of the only human beings who took advantage of what was one of our biggest mistakes that we stopped doing, which was for a short time, we were offering a lifetime diamond membership. And Michael Green was like, I'm going to buy that. And he bought it at a huge discount. And they were selling so fast that we were like, actually, that's probably not the healthiest thing for us to do for the business. So, tricks on you, Michael. You spent money on the Lifetime Diamond, and then we hired you as staff. So, you ended up wasting your money in the end, man.
That's right. That's $650. I'm not getting back Canadian.
50 bucks Canadian. All right. But okay, Michael, you are the project manager, the product manager for puzzles. That's internal speak that we use at a tech software company. I think what a lot of people don't know about you is not just the fun stories of how long you've been an online user of every different online chess platform. I want to actually say that because you and I have had more dialogues, I think, about chess tempo and what chess.com needs to do to have better puzzles. You and I have talked about all the different options available to people solving puzzles for years, I think, together. And so when
Yeah.
we realized that we needed to make a change to what was happening with the puzzles rating and how we were gonna invest in this, take us through a little bit of what we were trying to accomplish and what we are trying to accomplish here with the new puzzles rating system and why we do feel like it's better for all of the longtime puzzle fans like yourself.
Yeah. So I think it's goes back a long ways, and we started doing things a number of years ago that I think were meant to make puzzles more engaging, more fun, less punishing, less of a grind. And we ended up doing some things that kind of inserted the fun into our rating system in a way that had kind of long-term uh, negative impact on in the integrity and trustworthiness of that rating system. So we started doing things like no matter how different the rating, like if a puzzle was rated far below you, if you got it right, we still give you 5 points. If you had any encounter with a puzzle that was new to our system, even if you got it wrong, we give you one rating point because maybe it's not a trustworthy puzzle. So we took a number of steps like this that had a general effect of increasing player ratings because we want people to feel good. We want people to stay in that, just keep practicing. So ratings would come up, especially given something like, getting 5 points for every puzzle you get correct. So what ended up happening is that this problem, the player inflation of player ratings, eventually trickles over and starts to affect the integrity of the ratings in the puzzles product itself. So now we are in a situation where, depending on how long you've been in the system, we don't know, like based on your rating, whether you are in fact relatively the same as someone who's the same rating as you, or in fact much better or much worse at doing puzzles. And by the same token, if we take two puzzles that are rated 1300, we can't say with certainty if one puzzle is 7 years old and one puzzle is 2 years old that they're anything, that their actual difficulty is similar. So pretty bad. We let our rating system get into a pretty bad way. In summary, what we
Yeah, that
have,
makes sense. Oh, go ahead. Keep going.
yeah, if you want to just, I can just keep going. So a year ago, maybe more, we started digging into what we needed to do to get a better rating system. We ultimately want people to have an experience where they're getting puzzles that are at their level, that feel good. This is where people can actually make gains and get better. So basically, the engineering team effectively re-rated every puzzle attempt from the beginning of time using a differently balanced rating algorithm. much more similar to what you would see like a Glico rating system, like you would see in live chess. So we re-rated every puzzle attempt, balancing based on the belief that people are generally going to be more skilled when they know there's a tactic on the board. So, if your rating, if your blitz rating was 1400, we would expect your puzzle rating to be 5-ish, 100 points higher than that, maybe more, maybe less, depending on your history. Higher than that. Like if somebody whispered in your ear, Danny, there's a tactic, whenever you were playing, you probably, your rating would obviously go up. So we've been re-rating this, and we've been basically running this system in the background as people have been doing puzzles. So we have now a second, what we call internally, a shadow rating system. And I'll actually have far superior ratings for everybody who does puzzles on chess.com.
I think I want to touch on that because, first of all, that was amazing, helpful explanation. And again, for those who are really power users of this feature, hopefully you watch it again. We'll make sure we cut out a video of just this interview. But I think what maybe wasn't as effectively communicated by us, or maybe we weren't ready to share it at the time, is that this system we had been building is something we had been tracking and basically already running in the background for more than a year, right, Michael? The shadow rating, based on trying to solve some of these problems of what we had done, injecting some inflation, as Michael said, about 5 points no matter what when you got it right, losing 1 point, as well as the idea that not every 1400 rated puzzle is even equal based on how many tries they've had. We're trying to figure out a self-regulating rating system of the puzzle while all of you are solving it. And so we're trying to make sure it is accurate and feels good at the same time. And the delta of whatever they say, happiness is the delta of expectations and reality, right? I think the expectations and reality got out of whack with the puzzles as we were trying to solve for some of these issues with literally hundreds of thousands of puzzles in the database. And so I just want to double down that I think people knowing that we put a lot into what the shadow rating is for people, and we are trying to get a bit of a reset, a bit of an ultimately feels good with an initial feels bad, for people really knowing that their puzzle rating is accurate to their puzzle strength. And I just don't know that a lot of people know how long we've been kind of testing this in the background.
Yeah, and let's be clear about where we are today, right? So we have this. The good news is our puzzle players and our puzzle ratings have better, more trustworthy rating values than they had, in the past.
Yep.
But we're in kind of a transitory space right now. Like, if you go on the website, our members don't yet know what their new and improved puzzle rating is. This is not something that we've actually brought to the surface in the product yet. So we're just letting the system mature. We're letting people do puzzles. We're watching the new rating, the shadow ratings, as they evolve for puzzles and players. And we're very close to we're testing the system now, and we're very close to being able to release this new rating system.
Yep.
The other thing that we did that made things a little more awkward in the here and now is about the same time we started using the shadow ratings to serve puzzles. And I should emphasize that because I don't know that I did. We are currently using shadow ratings of puzzles to serve puzzles in our rated puzzles product.
Mm-hmm.
However, the ratings you see in your stats, the ratings you see in the UI, are legacy ratings. So you're getting the new experience, but the numbers that you're seeing in the system are still based on the old system. So things right now are very strange because another thing that we did was release a new setting for puzzle difficulty. And we made puzzles a lot easier for most users. So what this has done in the short term has made our apparent rating inflation problem much worse in the last month.
Yep. No, it makes sense. And I'll just share real quick that we're currently in a dialogue internally about how quickly we're sort of ripping the Band-Aid off to sort of solve this now larger optics problem, as Michael said, which is that you're getting puzzles accurately based on the new system, but you're still seeing legacy old system, which makes it feel even more complicated, regardless of the feels bad that is going to come a little bit with the shadow rating, resetting puzzle expectations. But all right, Michael, this has been super helpful. I'm glad we're sharing all this with the community. Let's dive into one big question we got, because I think this question speaks for a lot of users. This comes in from Reddit, user Plantain960. I'm going to quickly TLDR it as we read it, because people don't like when you read slides on screen, I've learned. But what's the plan to make sure that puzzles are fairly matching your rating? I think you kind of addressed this a little bit, that's where we're going, and that puzzles are actually more accurately being matched. You're just not seeing the results or the fruits of your labor yet, user. And I think talking about how the rating points used to be with +5 versus others are is fair feedback, right? And as you say, the current fix of letting each player choose their own difficulty setting is making both the rating and the ranking meaningless. I'm going to let you answer, Michael, but I will just quickly say heard, and your point is a very good one, and that's why we're going with where we're going and what we're trying to do very quickly here in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, this person knows the score, and these are exactly the concerns we've tried to address by creating this new rating system. And it's going to be excellent when we can roll it fully out and the inputs start to match the outputs a little bit. And, this puzzle that I just got feels right for me. And then when I get it right, I expect to see something in my rating stats that makes sense. So we don't have all that working together, but when we release the new rating system, we will be back in a much more kind of logical world where the inputs and the outputs kind of match each other if you're tracking your rating. To the point that the person makes here about by default it serves boring low rated puzzles even to highly rated players. Here may be a case where a user would want to go to their puzzle settings where we now have 3 levels of difficulty, and they may want to go for extra hard, because it's worth noting here that the extra hard setting in our new setting is most similar to the old experience. So if what you want is puzzles that were relatively as challenging as they were like 2 months ago, you want to go to puzzle settings and set that setting on extra hard, because you're up for the challenge, as this user seems to be.
Yep. All right. Okay. Well, this has been a big one, and it's always tough when we're in a spot where feedback like this is coming in, because I always like to say internally to the team that if we're getting that type of feedback from the community, there's no world where we either didn't need to review whether we are making a mistake, or at least appreciate that maybe it could have been a little more effective. And so we take responsibility for that, for the feature that all of you love deeply. And now you know what we are trying to accomplish, and we do feel very good about the goal in terms of where puzzle difficulty, how we serve you puzzles, and the accuracy of what your ranking is going to be for the future. So thanks for being patient with us. And Michael, thanks for buying that lifetime diamond membership, buddy, and for joining the chess.com team long ago. You used to keep your hair kind of spiky with like tips then. We called you the Canadian at the time. You had a lot going on, with you look great, and again, the hair then was something I missed. Could we go a throwback to the spiky hair tips one day?
I could do that. Actually, I got a haircut for you today. Yeah. I was actually looking fairly hoodlum-like last week. So
okay. Okay.
I'm still.
All right. Well, all right, man. Great.